Hey, you guys, welcome back to Rocket City Yardstead. So, I'm going to just be really real with you guys. It's been a very busy several days. I've been working through processing all of my final harvests. I went out of town for a funeral. Like, it's just tiring. Plus, Thanksgiving is this week. And so, I've just been busy. And I could use some comfort food. And I need it to be quick and easy because it's dinner time. And so I thought I'd bring you guys along and show you one of my favorite meals when I'm just having one of those days and I need something comforting, but that doesn't take a whole lot of time. So here on my tray, I've got bacon all spread out on a cookie sheet with some parchment paper. This is my favorite way to cook bacon, in the oven at 375 degrees until it's done. I would be reluctant to give you an estimated time on it because even when I buy the same brand of bacon, the thickness makes a huge difference on how quickly it cooks. So just keep an eye on it. But I'm going to get this in the oven and let it cook while I have some other things to do. And then I'm going to come back and throw together some carbonara. When I was a kid, this was probably my favorite meal my dad made. And so it's sort of nostalgic and comforting and kind of just what I need today. My bacon's almost done in the oven. I've got a pot of water on here to boil, and I thought I'd show you what I've been up to today. So these were the last of my cherry tomatoes from that final harvest, and I just stuck them in the freezer. These are great just like this to throw into like that feta pasta dish that was really viral a couple of years ago. It's actually really good. And you can just use frozen whole cherry tomatoes in it. So I actually have this, and I have at least 1 gallon bag of cherry tomatoes. I might have more than that actually. And then I did not realize so many of the tomatoes I harvested were going to ripen. But just today, I was able to chop up over 3 pounds of tomatoes. I just chopped these in half, took their cores out. I'm still hoping by the time I'm done that I'm going to be able to make some tomato soup from all of the tomatoes that I've saved. And then, y'all, this bag of peppers took me probably 3 hours today. Who knew that pulling the ribs and seeds out of peppers took so much time? I do, because it takes a ton of time every year. But I'm going to be really grateful to have these chopped, beautiful peppers in my freezer so I can throw them into various dishes. But there's just a lot of time in the kitchen on my feet today, which is why I needed something kind of easy for dinner. These are the rest of my tomatoes that have started ripening. Some of them are pretty far along, you can see. And then there's ones like this one, but look at all that beautiful yellow. So I'm hoping that even more of my tomatoes will ripen and I'll be able to just put these in the freezer as they ripen and do something with all of them together once all of the tomatoes are accounted for the year. My water's boiling and my bacon is all ready. So I'm going to get my bacon out of the oven and I'm going to get my spaghetti into my pot. I just have brown rice spaghetti. Use whatever kind of long noodle you want and just cook it to package instructions. So for me, this is going to cook for about 10 minutes. I did want to mention, we will not put all of the bacon that's on this tray in our carbonara, but I always sort of figure if I'm going to heat the oven up in order to cook my bacon, I might as well fill the tray. So I always cook a full tray and then I have extra to put in the fridge that we can use for breakfast or in another meal or just wherever we need some bacon. So this sauce for our pasta could not be more simple. I'm gonna do 4 eggs. I do think carbonara is one of those things that there are a million recipes and everybody's got their own way. And I just grew up with the way my dad made it. And so I don't necessarily think it's super authentic, but it's delicious to us. And that's what matters. Let me rinse my hands off here. Get a little soap because I'm eggy. So now that I've got my 4 eggs, I'm going to add about half a cup of cream. And then I'm going to add pepper. We like quite a bit of pepper in our carbonara. Some salt. Not too much because the parmesan and the bacon are both salty. I'm going to add some garlic powder. Probably about a teaspoon. And then about a half a cup of parmesan. Ooh. Need to grab a fork. Now I'm just going to whisk all of this together. Get our eggs really good and incorporated in here. See if I can avoid tossing parmesan out of my container. I normally do this in a bigger mixing bowl, a bigger, y'all, I'm telling you, it's one of those days. I normally do this in my 4-cup measuring cup instead of my 2-cup. And so I have more room for vigorous mixing. So when our spaghetti's done, this is ready to go on it. There's one more thing I'm going to do right now, which I don't always do at this step, but I am going to use freeze-dried green onions today. We really like green onions in our carbonara. It adds a little something fresh, but I'm not going to chop up fresh green onions today. I'm going to use freeze-dried. So when I use fresh, I just add them right at the end. But because these are dry, I want to give them a little bit of time to reconstitute. And so I'm going to add them into our egg mixture and they can reconstitute while this sits here. Some things take a long time to reconstitute. I find that green onions do really quickly. One of my favorite things about having freeze-dried green onions is football season. It can be hard to find green onions at the store, which is why I started freeze-drying them, because then I just had them on hand if I needed them. So now I need to chop up my bacon. So for this carbonara, I'm going to do about 6 pieces of bacon here. Just chop it up fairly small. I cook my bacon pretty crispy, so it chops nicely. And all of our carbonara components are ready. Our noodles are drained and ready to go back in our pot. And at this point, I like to add a little bit of butter, especially with, especially with these gluten-free noodles. I find that they tend to stick. And so I like to add a little fat for them. But now I'm ready to pour my sauce in. Now this is one of those areas where this might need to work differently for you if you have a traditional electric stove top. If this is your first time watching me, I have an induction stove. So I put my pot right back on my burner, and it's not heating anymore, and the burner is not holding a really exorbitant amount of heat in it like an electric one would. But if you have an electric stove, I would take this off of that original burner, because this is sort of like making a custard. And if you heat this egg mixture up too quickly, it will curdle instead of being creamy. So now I'm just tossing it with my pasta and letting it warm up a little bit. And then I'm going to turn my burner back on to a really low heat and just let it heat through and let those eggs start to cook. And then once that happens, I'll toss our bacon in. Trying to make sure it's in the shot without a shadow, but if you can see down here how our egg mixture is starting to get thick and it clings to the spoon, that's just our eggs starting to cook and get that nice creamy texture. So this is getting far enough along now. I am going to go ahead and grab my bacon and toss it in. I grabbed a fork and I'm just going to grab a bite of this and see if we need to add any more salt or pepper or garlic. Oop, that one noodle doesn't want to. Nope, perfect, just like it is. So you guys, it's really that easy to make carbonara on a weeknight. If you happen to have leftover bacon in your fridge, it's even faster. So I hope if you guys need something comforting and delicious and quick for a weeknight, you'll consider making some carbonara. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.